Hello, welcome back to Sprouted Dreams. This week, I thought that we would make a one-of-a-kind fairy door. This is where you go out and find a unique branch that has a shape and a structure that you think might work well for a fairy door. This is a smaller one, as you can see, maybe about 4 to 5 inches tall and only about an inch wide here at the opening, but it would work well for some smaller fairies. Let's see if I can find one that would fit well in here. But you want to have a variety of fairy doors, like remember the larger one that we made like this that would work well for taller fairies, but of course you need some smaller ones that work for your smaller fairies. Let me think. If I have one that's nearby that would work with this. I will try to put that into the photographs at the end. But I wanted to show you how I shaped this piece. Of course, if you have a branch that has this nice A or sort of Y shape, V, whatever you want to call this, you have to be sure that also the branches are not splayed. Now on this particular one, it was a little off on the height dimension, and so as you can see, I added this smaller branch, and it is going to give this sort of little foot to this door that I really liked. And I tried to get all of the bark off, but look, there's a bit more that needed to chip off as well. So once you make sure that your piece is the right shape, you can sand it flat on a belt sander here. And I already have this fairly flat. Now, usually these doors are used on a tree, so it doesn't have to be perfect. It's probably most likely not going to go against an actual wall or fence. But if it does, be sure that you sand it so that that's flat. And this little extra shape here, I'm going to fill with some epoxy and extra sawdust to give it the structure it needs. It's already held up against the belt sander, so it's on there pretty good. But just to be triply sure, I'm going to fill that gap in there. But what I wanted to show you, here's another smaller one, is when you fit your doors, they are not going to fit perfectly. The shape is going to be very difficult to get. And that's where these sort of grinders are handy to have. Also a belt sander, also some hand files that are flat as well as rounded. But if you take your door, like this one, and you wanted it this way, and you go to draw your shape, that is not going to work. What you actually need to do is turn the piece over, and then draw the door you want, cut it out from your wood, and then use that. So this one is actually fitted pretty well right now, but this, you can see, needs a bit more grinding right along this path. So everywhere that is, see, I know that I can take that down a bit more. So I'm going to go ahead and grind that, and I'll let you watch as I do it. I'll try to cut the sound down. See how when I come in here, it's actually going to take that away. And this way, that door should fit right in there. See, now I have kind of a mark with my grinder. Hopefully all that dust isn't, whoops, going up into the camera. That's a little better. See, and then always have one side that's perfectly straight, because this is where we can hinge. And so I'm gonna go ahead. Yeah, that's pretty good. If I take that down just a little more, a little more right here, I think that we're going to have a nice fit for the door. Yeah. Okay. I think that that's going to work. Now, of course, you can use files and sandpaper and stuff like that as well. See, but that's going to fit into that little notch that I made, which makes for a nicer fit. So this is ready to be hinged. We're going to work on this door another time. And we are ready to see what sort of hinges. Now, I found a real treasure trove the other day and got some beautiful marble and stone pieces. And I thought this very nice triangle shape might look great on this door. So look at your flat or your straight side is going to be where you hinge. Obviously, if you hinge here, it could end up opening in a wonky way like this. So we're going to hinge on this flat, straight side. So the doorknob is obviously going to go over here. I thought this was a nice shape for this door. I don't know. It seemed to go well for me. Not up so high, maybe low. So I'm going to get our E6000 so that we are ready to glue the hinge onto here, right there. And then I may take this down a little bit more with the grinder as we get the door actually attached. I may use 2 hinges. What do you think? Gold, silver? I think antique is probably the best for this door. I don't know that we're going to add any color. Maybe I will add color. Maybe some red. What do you think about that? I have a very super duper red here. Ooh, dirty. That I had for a custom order quite a while back. But this red might look nice on here. And then the white door. Well, yeah, let's paint this first then. See if we can get this to whiz through. Oh my gosh. Oh, I did open it. Yay. Hopefully it's still good. Not bad. Okay. Do your painting prior to any attachment of your hardware. And this is because you don't want to fight with your hardware trying to paint around it. So it's easier to paint first. So let's go ahead and lay a little paper towel down. I suppose I should probably stir that a bit, but this seems to be pretty nice. Ooh, so pretty. I like to use the red doors sometimes because they go so well with the toadstools, which is really fun. So maybe we'll end up doing a toadstool handle. I don't know. But it's fun to do these different ideas as you make your piece. I didn't really expect to be doing a red door, but lo and behold, there it is. So think about having all of your options in front of you so that you can kind of make these decisions as you go. I mean, maybe you want to stain this a very dark wood to match with the branches, or perhaps you want to keep everything very light and sanded and just put sort of a water-based urethane on it so that it stays very light in color. Depends on what you like and what sort of coloration you're doing for that fairy garden. Always try to keep the colors of your fairy garden. Oh dear, now how am I going to set this down? Whoopsie. Well, Now I've got myself into a pickle. I painted myself right out, didn't I? Okay, well, what we'll do is just see if I can put it there. I wonder if it'll stay. Yeah, maybe it will if I put it there, like that. That's not bad. Okay. I am going to go clean up this paintbrush, and I'll be right back. Well, now while the door is drying over here, I thought I would show you how I fill in these little spaces to add stability to additional wood pieces that you might be using. Now, you can do this with wood glue or epoxy. Obviously, the wood glues need far more time to dry. Really, epoxy needs a good 24 hours as well, but you're going to be able to actually work on the piece sooner if you use the epoxy. And the wood is going to give, the wood glue is going to give a bit of a more opaque look, and the epoxy is going to be more clear. However, either way, we're going to pack it with sawdust and then varnish on top. So take your pick of whichever one works best for you and use that product. Okay, so now that we have this all mixed, and as you can see, since we're working with miniature pieces, you don't need to mix up, you know, entire tubes of the epoxy. You can just use little bits, and then when it's dry, just sand it down, and it will be ready to varnish just like it was a single piece of wood. So when you are sanding your pieces, don't let that sawdust go to waste. For sure, get in there and use it up so that you have it for other projects. And you can even use it for textures and stuff on some types of clay, even like when you put a clear coat on, you could give like a mushroom, if you make it out of polymer clay, once it's all cooked and dried, you could take sawdust, put on a coat of whatever sort of urethane you wanted to seal it with, and then sprinkle the sawdust on top so that it gives it that sort of rough texture that some mushrooms have, which is really unique. And that way your pieces don't come out with just sort of no personality whatsoever. All right. So we have that ready to go, and the door is drying quite nicely. I will risk, yeah, see how quickly that goes in? A few more little spots to dry, but now this won't be dry, but it's dry enough that you could work with it. And this is going to get darker as we varnish, because you always want to varnish on top. This is an exterior paint, but I always seal my pieces with further varnish on top. I'm going to go wash this off and clean up our little work area, and then we will be ready to put the hinges on. Okay, now this door is basically dry to the touch, and it looks super cute. Look at that. Okay, so we need to decide here on the straight side where we hinge, do we want to put a large, ooh, no, I don't like the large. How about, do we need a single small? We might need two. That really needs to press in there quite a bit more there, like that. Okay, do we have the glue here? I had it. Let's make sure that's where it's gonna sit. Yes, okay. Right there and right there. I don't think that's gonna fit. No, we're gonna have to do it with one hinge, unless I just put a tiny bit of space between the two. Maybe it would look all right like that. And then this door handle. Yeah, that looks cute. I think that's fine. All right. I think that's what we're doing. Okay, two hinges and this doorknob. Those all need to be glued on with the E6000. And then we will screw it in. Here we go. Okay. With my hinges. Now, I'll do that last. We make doubly sure this is where we want the door. Make sure that this is all flush here. If I can find another flat piece of wood. I don't have a large enough one. How about that? Okay, you can see. The thing is it doesn't look, but look, the whole door, if the whole thing stands balanced like this, it's correct. So even though, like, when I'm showing you here, it looks like there's a gap, it works. So always balance your pieces as best you can. Sometimes your eye will lie to you, or even a level or something, because we're not working with conventional shapes here. So I'm happy with this like this, even though you may be looking at that and going, hey, Abigail, that looks screwy. Trust me, if it stands up nice like this, that's the way you want it to go, and it stands beautifully on its own. So that's what we're doing. We can always sand this down a bit later if we need to. Oops. Now our glue is oozing everywhere. Okay. Remember, it's always important to glue your hinges on and get this hinge part right on the part of the door that's going to swing. If I don't adjust that perfectly, the door can open kind of in a wonky way. And then we just wanted a small gap between these hinges. I did not feel confident to leave this door with just one of these hinges, so we are not going to do that. Oh dear, it doesn't want to stay. Okay, go, buddy. There. And again, make sure that your hinge is aligned with the edge of that door right there, so that that all looks like a single solid line. And then when you screw it in, gosh, it doesn't want to stay. So I'm just going to hinge that. I'm going to glue that side right there, just like that. And I will be able to hopefully drill in clearly. Whoops. Losing my glue. Okay, now we're ready for this doorknob. I have a lot of really pretty doorknobs, but I can get very hung up on, oh my gosh, which doorknob? So I'm just going to go with what I had in my head to start with and not overthink it. There we go. All right, that's going to sit and dry, and then I will show you the drilling process in quick motion, and we will be back to discuss what the next step is. All right, well, that looks super cute. You may want to do a little bit of sanding on this side here and kind of clean up this little additional knot that I sort of added. Remember when we put the epoxy in there, and see how you really can't tell that that has been added so much now, and once the varnish goes on, it's really going to be pretty much invisible. There is a bit of a gap here, which I'm not really fond of, but once the door is sort of set, you can see that this overhang of this knot sort of covers that, but I don't know. Maybe I want to cover that. I'm not precisely sure. This doesn't quite sit down not because it doesn't fit this way into the little ridge that we made for it, but it's because this is actually stopping it here. So I may use my little rotary here and see if I can kind of see how this is actually hitting, like right here. See, so this is actually stopping it. So if I can get this in here. See, now that fits nicer. Now, do we want to sort of clean up that gap? That's the question. I'm not sure that I want to, because it could end up, okay, this could end up interfering with the opening of the door, with the functionality of the entire piece. But we will look and see if I want to add something small there. Maybe. Doubt it, but let's see. It would have to be really tiny and well fitted in order for that to not interfere. Yeah, it's going to interfere with the door, unless I put some sort of clay piece in there, or maybe a small, no, that's way too big. Let's see. Nope. That's just not going to fly. I could put it on the back side and make the light not come through. That could work. I just don't think it's really that necessary. No, I'm not going to sweat it. I'm going to leave it. It's a little funky, and that is a-okay with me. So this can have a sawtooth hanger for the back, so I'm not going to worry about that. The question is almost, does it need anything else? The doorknob works. It has a nice red color. I don't want to add more color or it's going to kind of detract. One of those screws looks like it could use a little extra screwing in. I always set the the torque on the drill very low. I hope that you could see that in the speed motion. I always put it down to 1 because really you can over screw these screws and then they will strip, and it's very hard to work with them. They're they're very difficult. As you'll see, when you start to make miniatures, these little screws can really mess with you. So take your time with them and work slowly and almost no torque with the miniatures. All right, I think that that is really, honestly, ready for varnish. So I'm going to go ahead and varnish this up. And remember, I use the Varathane Spar Urethane, which is for boats. And this works really well to keep your pieces protected from outside. And I will put the finished piece with a suitable sized fairy next to it on the back end of this video. So I hope this helps you to create your own. Just remember, like I said, when you draw your piece out, do not put this here and draw your door. What you need to do, where'd my pencil go? Always the question of every single day, where did the pencil go? Had it. Oh, Lordy. I lose them like you wouldn't believe. Okay. Okay, I've got a different one. So if you draw your piece out this way, which looks like it would be correct, you actually end up with an incorrect door. See, the size is off. So what you have to do is actually flip the piece over. This is the back side. See where it's sanded? And then draw it out. And you will end up with a correct door. And that's how we got this one. I always cut a little bit bigger, and then I can always either sand or grind it down. And so this one needs a little bit of work. See, and this has the flat side or the straight side, and then the kind of bent side. But this one has given me such a hard time because, see, this is not straight. So I'm afraid that in order to get it flat enough back here to sort of work with the door, I'm going to lose the integrity of this side. So that's why this door has sort of sat like this. I may just shove it in there kind of like that and glue it in and make it a non-functional door. I'm not sure. This door has given me a headache or two, so that's why it's sitting here. But look, be sure that you use your pattern on the back side of the door, and then you'll flip it. Obviously, take this pattern and then cut your piece out. Hope that makes sense, and I hope it helps you to make your very own fairy door. See you next week. Until then, happy fairy gardening.